Hello and welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen.
And this is Tina. Don't look at my name right now. I'm changing that.
I can edit that out, but you've
Okay.
given me extra work to do, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Um,
All right,
I,
welcome to Tina and Karen. We are the rocket ship of YouTube. That's what we're known as. We are
ooh.
still at 27 subscribers, but that is bound to change every day.
Still waiting
And
for lucky number 28.
yep, we used to be at 29, so I mean, this is just factor that in. Just
Yeah.
trying to reclaim two lost subscribers. That's not even what we're trying to do. We're not even trying to conquer new territory. We're just trying to reclaim what was rightfully ours.
Yeah. I mean, every spike has a dip.
That's right. Every bull market has a bear.
This is our bear market.
Definitely. All right. For anyone who's been following the channel, you'll probably notice that like we're posting more clips on the channel, and that's sort of my goal going forward. These podcasts, they're an hour and a half, and we know most people don't really want to listen to it unless I get on Spotify or one of iTunes or some of these other like kind of more podcasting platforms. People don't want to watch an hour and a half YouTube video typically. So I'm trying to clip out 9-10 minute segments that might be of the more interesting variety. So
Yeah. Especially, sometimes when we're watching reacting to videos about might have some fun animation.
yeah. One of the downsides about like YouTube is like compared to other like hosting platforms is that you can't minimize the video and reduce the battery power. Like with Spotify, they do video like podcast and video platform, but you can like close the screen and the audio will still keep going. With YouTube, it won't do that. You have to have the screen open all the time and it drains the battery a lot faster.
I think if you have YouTube Premium, you can do that.
That's right. Exactly. Well, maybe it's true for Spotify, but I just pay for Spotify Premium because I think it's more worth it.
Yeah. I mean, they're the big boys in the podcasting space.
They are that way. After they got Joe Rogan, I feel like they kind of solidified that spot.
Yeah, yeah. I hear like podcasting is actually kind of down right now. Like it was a little bit oversaturated during the pandemic, but
Too many people like us trying to make a way in podcasting.
yeah, trying to encroach on our niche
Well,
because we were doing it well before them.
Yes, and I think we had our best success during the pandemic, which was modest. We had one video over 1,000. I'll take that to my grave.
Hell yeah.
Good. Yeah, go Jonathan. All right, but anyway, if you're a fan of our content, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us tremendously. It takes no effort on your part, and we could like to be funny. We are not the serious podcasters who try to persuade you to follow their cause. We're two just casual guys, regular guys who want to coast through life on your money.
We're two quirky guys with quirky opinions, and we just want to sound like we're stuck together in a room and have to talk it out for an hour and see what conversation comes up.
You know what I think I respect about you that I don't respect about most people?
What's that?
I genuinely feel this way. You and I disagree quite a bit, but at the same time, I feel like we're not like combatants trying to advocate a cause. We're just two generally interested philosophers who are trying to make sense of the world.
Yeah, and each other.
Uh-oh, you trying to make sense of me? What the fuck? There is no sense to Karen. Karen is all. Karen is what is it? What's the line from Avengers? What's it? Inevitable. Karen is inevitable.
Karen. Oh, and then if Karen is inevitable, then Tina was edible.
This is grade A content, people. Just subscribe and you get more of those kind of quirks from Tina.
Yep. I was trying to think of the opposite of inevitable, like
evitable.
Yeah.
Did you say edible?
Yeah, I couldn't say evitable. It didn't make sense to me.
All right. So I'm sure more things are going to come up during the conversation, but quick thoughts here. 2 quick thoughts before we really get into the video.
Yes.
You watched the Super Bowl, correct?
I did not.
Oh, no, not at all?
I watched the last 40 seconds.
You didn't watch the Swift Bowl?
I was busy working.
Oh, no. So no real thoughts on the game?
I have thoughts.
Oh?
I mean, I know all about it. I get all my sports news from everybody.
Is this about the game itself, or is it more about the whole
That's the
Swift
thing.
drama?
It's not about the game.
What's your thoughts on the game, on the Super Bowl?
uh Patrick Mahomes is without a doubt, this he's the new Tom Brady.
Definitely.
No,
As
no one
much as
comes close.
as much as I hate the Chiefs and I hate their dynasty. I didn't feel that way even last year. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like one Super Bowl, I was happy for them. I seriously was rooting for them over the Niners like a few years ago. That was major, major, major Chiefs fan then because I hated the Niners. Ironically, because I was rooting for the Niners now. Like, yeah, because
Barely.
I've always been one to root for the underdog, but I also, unlike a lot of people who do root for the underdog, I recognize greatness when I see it, and Mahomes was without a doubt the greatest player in the league currently, and maybe one of the greatest ever.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have like the same offensive firepower they used to. Now that he's making more money, and he's still, even though they had a down year, he's still taking them to the big game.
Well, the thing is with Mahomes too is like you never feel a lack. You never feel worried when the ball is in his hand and the game's on the line. With with Brock Purdy had every chance to win that game. You didn't feel that confidence that like, oh, it's a sure thing. He's gonna march the team down and they're gonna win the game.
Yeah.
With Mahomes, the second he got the ball on the last drive, I'm like, okay, there's no doubt about it in my mind they're gonna win. I had that feeling.
Yeah, it's just that confidence from being there so many times.
Yeah. So
Do you think you like Mahomes more than Brady at this point?
at this point in his career, yeah, because it took me a while to like Brady. Like, I mean,
Okay.
I'm talking like
I think it took him separating from Bill Belichick and then really kind of showing like who he was as a player.
I don't know. I mean, when he beat the Rams, I was happy. Like the most recent Rams, like the Jared Goff, Sean McVay
Okay.
Rams. I was happy about that because at that point I recognized I'm watching greatness. I'm okay with it. But yeah, like he beat the Seahawks, and that part is memorable. But like,
Still stings.
well, even when he beat the Seahawks, it's like we just beat Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl the year prior, and we
Mhm.
dominated that game.
The best offense of all time.
Best offense of all time. The next year we play Tom Brady and he beats us, and it becomes clear to me like, okay, Tom Brady's clearly better than Peyton Manning. Because we arguably had just as good, if not better, a defense that year, and Tom Brady torched us. He had like 390 yards. Now mostly it was a bunch of dink and dunk passes to Julian Edelman, so it's not like he like ripped. Yeah, I think he had one pass that was more than 20 yards.
And James White.
Yeah. He had one pass more than 20 yards that whole game, and it ended up being a touchdown to Gronkowski. But either way, it was just like I can respect greatness even if I don't like it. With Mahomes, because I don't have any sort of personal vendetta, he didn't beat us. I can probably get there sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But at the end of Brady's career, I was not a Brady fan, but I didn't mind him. I liked him.
Okay.
But there was definitely a period there where I was hating on Brady because he was like, I'm sick of them winning all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that same boat, and now that he's like not, people don't have to play against him and watch him win. Their kind of feelings are changing.
Of course, exactly. That's how it goes. Funny enough, the one person who comes to mind that never happened to was Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, people like the Bulls no matter what.
Like people like in Michael Jordan and the Bulls' heyday, they didn't mind losing to him because they just knew he was the greatest, and it was just a spectacle to watch him.
Yeah, they would just go to watch the greatest.
You went to watch your team get destroyed by the Bulls.
That is a big difference between him and LeBron. Like people, I don't think go out of their way to watch LeBron.
Yeah. Arguably, LeBron's better. There's a debate.
Yeah,
but
there's
far less. There's
good debate.
He's far less likable compared to Jordan. All
right. Yeah, maybe less. I think a lot more players all hated Jordan though. Like his own teammates like hated him.
Oh yeah, because he was hyper competitive.
Yeah,
he demanded perfection of his guys. So.
Yeah, right. That's what happens when you have a Nazi stash. Or Hitler stash.
Did he have the Hitler stash while playing? I don't think
it was kind of there.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, kind of there is the full mustache because like anyone who has a full mustache has a partial Hitler mustache.
That's true,
yeah. It includes it.
I hope I never do that.
All right. Okay. The other, really quickly before we get into the video, because I'm sure our listeners want to get into it, but I'm just curious because this is a big news story. I want to know: did you watch the Tucker Carlson Vladimir Putin interview?
I did not.
Oh,
No.
okay.
I'd be curious to see how I was just kind of like, oh, he's just doing this for the clout. He just needs attention, and I thought it
Wait,
was funny the whole drama behind the
Tucker?
scenes. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, you don't think? Okay, so that's you don't think that there was any like journalistic value in interviewing one of the biggest, most influential people in the world?
I think there's value, and it got probably a lot more attention than some of the other interviews he's given, because he's given interviews during once the war started.
Interviewing the one of the president of one of the warring countries and one of the biggest countries in the world, one of the most powerful countries in the world, I think is a much bigger interview than anything he's done in the past. But I was just curious if you saw it, and you didn't.
No. Did you?
Yeah, I watched it. I was curious. It's a curious thing.
I don't know. I'd be curious to watch it. How long was it?
It's like 2.5 hours.
Okay.
My takeaway from it was a few things. Like the biggest meme that has come of it. I don't know if you've heard about it yet, but like it's like the joke is, the first literally 50 minutes of the interview is just Vladimir Putin explaining the history of Russia. It's become a joke online because like Tucker Carlson asked him a very simple question: why did you invade Ukraine? And then Vladimir Putin says, like, if you can just allow me a minute, I'll explain a little history. And then I'm serious. The next 15 minutes is him explaining in great detail the history of Russia. And
interesting. I'd be curious to hear that part. And I know a little bit of the history behind it.
Yeah, and at 2 or 3 points during the 50-minute spiel, Tucker Carlson keeps asking, "How is any of this relevant?" He's like, "Allow me to finish." And like, I'm serious. He goes all the way back to like 890.
Jeez. Okay.
Okay, but if you listen to it and you try to get what he's trying to do, the basic of it is he doesn't think Ukraine's a real country.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, he thinks it's always been a part of Russia, so it's not a legitimate country. So that's his basic philosophy. And the rest of the interview,
that we'll do to Canada eventually.
Right, exactly. And the rest of the interview is somewhat just modest. There's not much more to mention other than the fact that I think Tucker was trying to coerce a few answers out of Vladimir. He was just trying to get a certain answer out of him, and he wouldn't budge. Okay. Like, he definitely wanted to take the America bad route. Like, I want you to say America bad. I want you to say America bad.
Oh, okay. That's what he was trying to like kind of egg him on to.
There was definitely a few points during the interview where I was listening, and it was like the questions he was asking are very leading. He's trying to get Vladimir to say this war never would have happened if America wasn't so imperialist and expansionist.
But he wouldn't take the bait.
No, it's 100%. If you can take Putin at his word, it's 100% the case that he just legitimately doesn't think Ukraine's a real country, and this is just a civil war, like an internal conflict that he's trying to solve.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was just curious if you saw the interview and what your thoughts were, but
no.
But that was my basic thoughts. One, it's really funny because like it starts with a just nonsense. Interesting, somewhat nonsense, but the question like was like, why did you invade Ukraine? Well, allow me an hour and a half. Is
that the first question?
Yeah, the first question was like, well, let me start with the question everyone's wondering: why did you invade Ukraine? And then he says, give me a minute, is what he says, to explain a little history. And then literally 50 minutes of him explaining in great detail the history of Russia. It's become a meme. Like, there's memes of Tucker reacting, like, looking like
as usual.
It's like, I'm confused by your answer. Like, what's going on? And like,
I wonder if he's like trying to stall for time so that he wouldn't keep like asking him questions because they only had 2.5 hours or something.
Well, that's how it started too. It was like Tucker started by saying like he prefaced the interview by saying that was how the interview started, was with that big, you know how you record maybe like a kind of an intro to the interview after it's all
Yeah.
done, so you can kind of prepare someone for watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole thing was like, I mean, like when we first sat down with him, he went into a long history of Russia, and which we thought was a filibuster. He was just trying to stall for time.
Oh, he prefaces the
Yeah, that's how it starts. It's like
okay.
basically like him like giving the, after it was all done and recorded, he basically gave his thoughts to intro the video, right? That's how it started, was with like what you're about to see is a sit down with Vladimir Putin, and he says, oh, you know, he went in long detail about the history of Russia, which we thought was a filibuster.
Okay.
But if you really just want,
yeah, he's giving his honest opinion on how that interview went, which I don't think you see from most interviewers.
Yeah, but okay, that was my two main thoughts. One, it's funny, only in the sense that like that's like, you could answer the question, why did you invade Ukraine? Because I don't think Ukraine really exists. Instead, he gives a huge fucking long history lesson on Russia. And then the second part of the interview is that Tucker was trying to coerce like a, say America bad, say you think America's bad, America's to blame. And Vladimir was like, no, that's not it. It's just that Ukraine doesn't exist. That was my basic.
Not even a war. It's just an internal conflict.
Right, exactly. Because they're calling it a military action, just a military exercise.
Yeah.
That's
what
you always
special
say.
military exercise.
Okay, that's completely off topic, but I was just interesting because like it's newsworthy. I mean, like like one of the top journalist media personalities in the world sits down with one of the two or three most powerful people in the world, and a very reclusive person who doesn't give interviews to Western countries ever.
Yeah, I think during COVID he was very reclusive, from what I understand.
I think from what I read, like it was the first sit down with a major Western media personality since 2018.
Wow.
So the first one since the war started, and the first one in a long time.
Yeah. Well, you know, that is important, trying to actually get stuff from the person himself, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so none of this is relevant to the video we're about to watch. Tolkien and Disney.
Segue.
No segue.
No segue. Okay.
No segue. There's no segue there. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put down a note. You know. All right. All right. So we're actually gonna watch a relatively short for our standards video about J.R.R. Tolkien and his thoughts on Disney. Do you have any sort of initial thoughts? Any sort of predictions?
I don't know how it will go. They must have known each other, Walt Disney and Tolkien. I don't know how well. I'm surprised he has an opinion on Disney, a strong opinion.
What would you expect his opinion to be?
Well, negative, Disney positive? Seems like a very probably much more simplified to him than a 1,000-page Lord of the Rings book.
You ever hear the memes or jokes about how most authors make up a language or make up kind of a backstory to create their story that they want to, and J.R.R. Tolkien literally made a language and says this deserves a story because he made he made the language of Elvish before he even started writing Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I did know that, which is rather interesting, but he's
an interesting fella.
Hey, props to him. He had to do something back then.
You had to do something, right? Yeah, before TikTok, what did people do? Before TikTok, what did people do? They just wrote languages.
Yeah, well, now we just invent them in real time with words we don't understand.
What's Finna?
Finna?
Finna? Do you know Finna?
I don't know. Okay. I haven't heard that one.
Oh, you're not plugged in with the Gen Z lingo then, huh? Apparently.
Oh, shit.
There's no shame in it. All right. Let's just get going. We'll actually learn a bit in this video together, shall we?
All right.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Little known fact about J.R.R. Tolkien is that he heavily disliked Walt Disney, his works, and the Walt Disney Company as a whole. In fact,
Hmm.
not only did he explicitly state that he never wants Disney to ever adapt his writings, but in some of his letters he openly states his disgust and loathing of Disney's animations. This may come as a shock, and so in this video we'll explore precisely why Tolkien hated Disney.
Did you ever hear that, like, I don't know if it's Tolkien, because I think J.R.R. was dead, but, like, his son did not like the Peter Jackson movies?
I never heard that. Like they're universally like praised for being
Not
great
from
movies.
Christopher Tolkien,
What
the
did he
heir
say?
apparent. He said they were too that like they lost sort of the magic of what
Hmm.
his father was trying to create, and he said he made them into action movies. He didn't like the fact that they were too much into action.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I,
I love the Peter Jackson movies, but
yeah.
apparently Christopher Tolkien had said something about, yeah, they're like it's what would you say, like just like Hollywood trying to turn a work of fiction into just an action franchise.
Almost like a commodificate or over commodification of it.
Yeah, I think that would be a nice way to put it.
I gotcha.
Did you feel that way while watching?
I mean, I've never read the book, so I can't. I tried reading the first one. I got maybe like halfway through it. And it was very dense. And I was probably like in my mid-teens, so I think some of it was lost on me.
Did you read
But
Atlas Shrugged
yeah, I did.
from beginning to end?
Yeah,
And Lord of
I
the
read
Rings is
Dun-
too dense.
I read Atlas Shrugged later on in my 20s.
Okay, you're a better man than me, because I tried reading Atlas Shrugged, but I thought it was boring. I didn't like it.
I enjoyed it. I actually did enjoy it.
Okay, but back to Tolkien.
Yeah, and interesting. He doesn't like the animation. He must.
Oh, with
It must.
Disney.
Yeah, it must be too Hollywood for him. Like he's the original. Like I don't know.
Oh,
I
here's a
mean,
thought. Like, do you think Tolkien was, uh, let's say, like the Shire, right? Think of the Shire. Is Tolkien like his paradise? Is the Shire simplicity?
okay.
I think that Tolkien wrote I think he actually put this in one of his notes, but like the Shire is like his metaphor for England. How he saw England as a boy, like just like this like little perfect villages and quiet, peaceful living. And
I could see that.
he thought of Mordor as industrialization. Because even
Okay,
when you watch,
Scotland or Northern
no,
England.
just like no, like more like London. You can think like the industrialization.
Oh,
So you think of it like try to separate like English villages from like sort of like more industrial like urbanization in cities.
yeah,
So think
yeah.
of English villages, the Shire, and that's his paradise, his dream. And he saw Mordor as a metaphor for like urbanization and industrialization. And when you watch the
Interesting.
movies, like what are they doing? They're tearing down trees. They're burning it for like fuel to create this army of Urukai.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Um.
was like I think, and I'm pretty sure we could fact check this if we want to, but I think J.R.R. Tolkien would explicitly say that Mordor was like sort of like his version of industrialization. That the Shire is pre-industrialized Europe, not Europe, England.
Well, and I don't think Disney would ever kind of capture that. I think only his book could really capture that if you really like kind of dive into the details and get to know the author as the person.
Maybe, yeah. Do you know much
Um,
about Tolkien overall?
I know something. I know he's a religious person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what else do I
So,
know? I knew about the language thing.
uh huh.
Um,
Did you know he
I
was
was
generally against progress?
okay.
He always dreamed that the past was better than the present or future. And that's like what I'm saying. Like I think the Shire is a metaphor for his idea of a paradise. A
Mhm.
simple town village of people who live modest means, and that Mordor, the army and the growth is industrialization.
the perpetual motion machine of industrialization.
Yeah, just create more and more and more. Mass consumption, mass production. He didn't like any of that, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his son though must have handed the rights over to what Peter Jackson's production company to make the movies. So
Yeah, that's
I
right.
wonder if he was against the movie. He must have.
I don't
I
think
mean,
he
I'm sure
liked the
they
way they
showed
turned out.
him.
I
Yeah.
think you can sort of sign on to a project as saying like I trust it's in good hands, but still not be happy with the way it turns out.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think?
Hollywood, being Hollywood, will probably remake Lord of the Rings eventually.
They did.
They already did in those ones, yeah. From the
So I
animated
didn't watch
films.
Rings of Power. What were your general thoughts on Rings of Power?
Started out slow. I was kind of liking it towards the end. We'll see. There should be a second season, I imagine, but after that, I know Amazon's poured so much money into it, it's probably not getting back what it wants. But
I think so. I think it wasn't like their most expensive show ever produced. I think it might be the
by
single
far, yeah.
most expensive show ever produced of any platform or film company or something.
I think like Bezos said, if this isn't like successful, then Amazon needs to rethink its like streaming.
Yeah. I would say it's a huge fucking money laundering scheme because like from what I've seen from like just memes, once again, I have not watched Rings of Power, but I've saw like side by side comparisons of like costumes and set design from like this is like, $400 million and this is $4 million. How the hell, where did all the money go? Did it look that way? Did it look like a cheap set? Cheap production?
It had that kind of like TV kind of like expensive feel to it, not like a movie feel.
Kind of like what's the one EW kind of not what EW, what like maybe it's EW, CW kind of dramas like Supernatural.
No,
No?
not quite that. It's just like it felt more it a lot of CGI, which I know the original Lord of the Rings had, and it's hard to not do in those movies. But yeah,
I still would buy that Gollum is completely.
It didn't have that epic feeling that the Lord of the Rings did.
Maybe it's building up.
Maybe we'll see in the next.
I don't know enough about the source material. I remember hearing something about like the amount of material that they were allowed to work with because they didn't have the rights to the full Silmarillion. They're dealing with like basically like basically a 1-page summary is their sort of wiggle room in terms of like source material they're allowed to work with.
It's kind of like George R.R. Martin giving like the final outlines of how to finish Game of Thrones.
Oh God, that is not an endorsement.
I am not endorsing the series.
Okay.
But if you like the other Rings, check it out.
Okay. See, I think it's funny that I think like George R.R. Martin was basically, this is my trial run. I want to see how people react to this story before I write it down for my final book.
I can't imagine any other scenario, or that's why he hasn't finished the books.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think that's why. I think it's probably because like he was testing the waters. He was like, okay, I don't know if this is a good ending or not, so I'm gonna write down the ending. I'm gonna let these guys produce it and see how fans react, and then I'll write it down. And yet it was a horror show where no one was happy, and he's like, fuck, now I gotta come up with a whole new ending.
Yeah, he kind of like felt where the story was going in his head, and then it's such a negative reaction. He has to like rethink everything.
Oh yeah. All right, let's continue.
In letter 13, dated the 13th of May 1937, Tolkien discusses the matter of illustrating the American publication of The Hobbit and whether or not those illustrations should be done by an American firm or Tolkien himself. The professor goes on to say, let the Americans do what seems good to them, as long as it was possible, I should like to add, to veto anything from or influenced by the Disney studios, for all whose works I have a heartfelt loathing. As the letter was written in the same year that Disney's Snow White was released, many confused Tolkien's words as referring to that, when in reality it is not the case. Snow White was released towards the very end of the year in December, and Tolkien only watched it in 1938.
What's Disney prior to Snow White?
I think that was their like first movie, right?
It was, so it would have just been Mickey Mouse cartoons, like really shorts, right?
Steamboat Willie or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Right. Which, like funny,
Yeah, I
like,
know.
yeah, like as soon as like the copyright went down on it, like I think there was like a trailer for like a Mickey Mouse horror movie.
Oh, I think people have known this copyright would end for years and have just been making stuff ready for it to.
I think the trailer dropped the same day that the copyright expired.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, and we could look that up later too. But like, I'm pretty sure like there's a horror movie coming out later this year, which features Mickey Mouse as the main killer. Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
Not actual Mickey Mouse, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Give it time.
It's kind of like Winnie the Pooh. I think the same thing happened with them. Like as soon as the copyright ended, then
They started making fun of the president of China. Oh, come on. You know what I'm
Not in
talking about,
China.
right? No, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh no, yeah, I know what you're
G
talking
looks like Winnie the Pooh.
about. No, I was talking about like the Blood and Honey Winnie the Pooh movie.
Blood and honey.
Yeah, it
Is
was
this a
like
real
a
thing?
horror. Yeah, it's a real movie. Got horrible ratings,
Okay. That's
so maybe up our alley.
maybe. But it seems that J.R.R. Tolkien didn't like Disney prior to Snow White. Do you think Snow White would have changed his mind?
I would have thought Snow White would change his mind. Like Snow White's, I don't think it's like a novel, movie, but for 1938, that's pretty good, I would say.
The animation is pretty spectacular if you think even like now I would look back at like Snow White animation being better than maybe like the 40s or 50s era of Disney, like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. I think that the art is much better in Snow White. Personally.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like
Interesting.
they that game Cuphead?
No.
No? Oh dude.
Cuphead.
Well, this is a fun time for like if you're into gaming and you want a date night game night,
Okay.
Cuphead. It's a fun 2-player game where it's like it's all 1930s sort of animation, where you fight bad guys in like sort of a 1930s style animation, which is pretty fun and cartoony.
Is the hero Cuphead?
Yes, and his brother Mughead, and literally they are a cup and a mug, and they shoot like out of their fingers.
Just
It's not a very like complex game. It's a very basic platformer, like you would expect out of like maybe the 1990s side-scrolling kind of games. But it's just the animation that's pretty fun.
okay. You appreciate it for the art
Oh, yeah.
direction.
It looks like you're watching a Snow White movie, kind of like a modern like kind of Snow White-esque movie in a fun way. Anyway,
Yeah, I think what he maybe just thinks Disney wouldn't do Lord of the Rings proper justice. They boil it down too much.
it's very possible. I mean, they do that with a lot of other like fiction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what they're known
that's
for.
what they're doing with Marvel, with Star Wars. But actually, not
Oh.
boiling it down. It seems like they're overcooking it.
Well, that's Marvel, and definitely Star Wars too. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't care that they killed Marvel because I
You
don't know.
weren't
I'm
that
not a huge
not much
Mar-
of a Marvel guy before.
but Star Wars pisses me off for sure. I will maybe watch the Deadpool trailer together. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, I haven't seen the
Oh.
Deadpool trailer. No.
I think we're gonna watch this at the very end of this video. We'll probably watch the Deadpool trailer and react to that. Okay,
Okay.
wherever we finish on this video. So
Considering his dislike of Snow White is perhaps the most famous part of this discussion, what did Tolkien loathe so much about Disney even before Snow White's release? Well, it seems to me that, as in the letter mentioned above the matter discussed is art, his dislike of Disney must start there. Tolkien appreciated good storytelling, and above all, he appreciated treating children with a little more maturity when trying to convey messages to them, and especially when it came to fairy tales. Based on later letters, as well as his essay titled On Fairy Stories, Tolkien did not appreciate the increasingly popular trend of the time, especially in the media and the products he felt Walt Disney was producing, of dumbing down storytelling for children, of changing and corrupting previously mature fairy tales under the misguided idea that children would not be able to understand, or that they should not even try to, in order
I'd be curious to read that essay. It sounds like an interesting essay.
It does. What's the shoot? I shouldn't have paused without knowing the name of the person I want to talk about. Are you familiar with like movies like Secret of Nim?
Yeah, that's a great movie from what I remember.
Do you know the name of the animator? He's a pretty famous
No.
animator for the later part. He also did a I think like an American Tale with the mouse. No?
I don't know about that one. I know Secret of Nim.
Okay. That's his big one. I'll say that. I'm okay. I'm gonna look this up real quick because I don't want to Don something. I think it's Don. Secret of Nim animator. But you know the movie.
Yeah.
So
Kind of want to rewatch it now that you brought it up. I remember enjoying it.
it's a very good movie. Shit. Why does it go to images first? I don't understand. Creator. How about that? I apologize. It's not good content, but it's actually important. I want to be nice. Again, it goes straight to images. I don't know why my phone does that.
Interesting.
Don Bluth. God.
Don Bluth.
I knew the name. I swear to God, I just forgot it. So Don Bluth was a American animator from the 1980s and early 90s, and he made a lot of good movies. Secret of Nim being his classic. I think he also made An American Tale. It's a good movie. And I'd probably bring up a few more big ones. Oh, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
Yeah. So his philosophy, I think it matches more with Tolkien than Disney. But his philosophy of storytelling to kids is basically any kid can handle any story as long as there's a happy ending. So you can put your kid through the ringer, like give them every trauma dump you can possibly imagine, scary imagery, terrible losses, depression, death, anything. As long as there's a happy ending, the kid will be fine.
Okay. It's like your typical hero's journey, you know?
Yeah. You can't give a kid movie. What would be a bad movie to show a kid?
What's that one with Daniel Day-Lewis? There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood. Okay. I was thinking like Requiem of a Dream.
Oh yeah, that's.
We could probably go on a long list.
I mean that's there in the title.
Yeah, worst movies ever to give
Show children.
to show children. Yeah.
Requiem for a Dream is definitely up there.
You think of any others?
Blood, Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, but the basic idea would
Titanic.
I think kids can handle Titanic, except for my brother. Funny story about
He
that.
couldn't handle it.
And I don't know. I mean, like, so that was a huge movie back in the 90s, and my parents wanted to see it, but they had kids and they couldn't get a babysitter, so we all went to go see it. And I don't know how old my brother was at the time when he saw it, but I remember liking it as a kid even then. But like my brother must have been traumatized because all he did for the next like month or months was draw people like dying in the water. Like he would like I'm serious. Like that's one of the biggest jokes in my family actually.
Really?
Because,
I never knew that.
Like yeah, like my dad, like parents bring their kids drawings to comfort them at their workplace. My dad has pictures of like boats sinking and people dying in water, like at his office.
Like what did you do to him? We just watched Titanic. Maybe it's just one of those age things for kids. Like if you're like an 8 or 9-year-old, more.
Yeah, I remember thinking Titanic was spooky with all the dead bodies in the water and like everyone's dying, but it didn't traumatize me. I thought it was cool.
No, I don't think it traumatized me either.
No.
I think I generally enjoyed it.
Do you have a most traumatic movie from your
Ooh.
childhood? Like a movie that sticks with you. And,
Oh,
like,
I
haunts you?
do.
What is it?
I never actually saw the movie, but the trailer haunted me for a time.
Oh yeah, what is it? Come on,
It's
say it,
called Dracula 2000.
dude. We fucking went over this. We
You
watched.
do. You remember?
We have a video that I haven't published yet, I don't think, but we have a video where we're reacting to scenes from Dracula 2000, and I think it was funny.
I don't know why, but it gave me nightmares.
Oh my god, that's so amazing. You just saw the trailer and it scared you. I mean, not
I
even
never saw
full
the actual movie.
Yeah, I think we watched it for the first time together. Like, we watched scenes from the movie, not the whole movie, but we watched scenes. I still have that video like saved on my computer. I just haven't published it yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm embarrassed to admit, but yeah, that one traumatized me.
Do you have a
I
film?
think Bambi traumatized a lot of kids, actually.
Bambi. Oh, okay. That's a
Yeah.
good example of like, hey, Disney can do some serious stuff.
Yeah,
Does anyone remember anything about Bambi after the mother dying?
that's exactly it, right? Like, no one really remembers all the good parts in Bambi.
I can't remember anything that happened in Bambi other than the mom dies. That's it. But
I know, yeah.
of all like children's movies, that's one I've not rewatched as an adult.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
We just watched Finding Nemo. We watched Finding Nemo. It was movie night. My wife chose for last Friday Finding Nemo. She really wanted to watch a cute movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good movie.
Yeah,
I don't mind that one, but and there's death in that, and then there's like trauma, but it has a happy ending.
Yeah, something about Bambi, I think maybe. I mean, I remember it being a good movie, and like, I just remember feeling sad at the end.
Do you remember? Were you ever a big watcher of Friends?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you remember like when Chandler's explaining why he couldn't cry at Bambi?
No.
Okay,
I do recall something like that, but I don't remember what he said.
yeah, it's a funny scene just because Chandler was just talking about how he's never cried at a movie because movies aren't sad, they're not real. And then Joey says to him something like, "Well, didn't you cry at Bambi when the mom died even?" He says, "Yeah, I thought it was really sad when they stopped drawing the deer." It's kind of a cynic's approach to movies that you know it's all fake, so you can't emotionally connect with it. It's kind of sick, actually.
I don't think kids are supposed to be born cynics.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I can emotionally relate to a lot of characters in movies. I can't think of the last movie I can maybe very visibly almost like on the shed of tears. Like, I don't know if I actually cried, but I felt like I was going to cry. Was I Am Legend.
Oh, yeah? When the dog dies?
When he strangles the dog, I was like,
Yeah.
damn, that's his only companion in the world. He loves that thing, and he's killing it. It's so sad. It's a terrible scene.
Yeah.
All right. You ever
Maybe it was
cried?
Will Smith killing himself in a way. His career.
No, he's had movies since then. Him
Good
killing
movies.
his career was slapping Chris Rock.
Oh, well, yeah, that put the nail in the coffin.
I don't even know if it has. Has he been in anything since then? I don't know.
I guess he was nominated for actually, no, he won the Academy Award, didn't he, that year?
They're not going to take away his award in the middle. It's like, we voted and we decided it was going to be Will Smith, but because he just slapped Chris Rock, we're changing our minds. That would be interesting, though. It'd be like La La Land.
I guess even the Oscars have to be entertainment, right?
Nah, no one watches the Oscars anymore.
That's
Do you even
true.
know any movies that are nominated for Best Picture this year?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Poor Things.
Never heard of it.
Barbie was nominated. No, was no.
I did see
Not
Barbie, but
Best
that got
Actress, not
nominated for Best Picture. I mean, I think it's a fun movie, but it's a basic comedy. That's a Best Picture.
That's where we're at right now.
Oh my God. How about Oppenheimer? Was Oppenheimer nominated?
It was. I think Oppenheimer got the most nominations.
Okay. I haven't
haven't
seen
seen it, though.
Oppenheimer yet, though.
Yeah. I don't know. I have my doubts about it.
Okay.
Honestly,
Do you have a prediction who will win?
probably Oppenheimer.
Okay. So, but it's not worth it, though.
Yeah,
Okay. Not Christopher Nolan's best?
I'll watch it, but I don't know. Not probably not his best.
What's your favorite Christopher Nolan Leonardo DiCaprio movie? Because I know how much you love Leonardo DiCaprio. which I'm planning on watching a Leonardo DiCaprio movie probably tomorrow. I've never seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really want to see it.
Oh, that's
so
a good movie.
Yeah, you fucking hate Leo. Why are you saying?
I'll
it's a good
admit
movie?
he's in good movies. It's just him.
It doesn't make any sense. I like his movies. I just don't like him. All right,
Exactly.
fine.
in order to garner an even wider audience and as such increase profits. A notable and particularly early example of this is of course one of Disney's first ever cartoons, the 1922 adaptation of Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh.
This connection between a kid's childhood being defined by profit-oriented decisions must not have felt right to him. In order to convey these messages, Disney simply pursued a style of animation that was often exaggerated and whose aesthetic was not something Tolkien must have wanted for The Hobbit, which could explain the quote. This is my best attempt at explaining a quote that is often misrepresented and perhaps even lost to time. Nonetheless, Tolkien's views on how fairy tales should be treated are clear. In his essay on fairy stories, Tolkien states that it is true that in recent times fairy stories have usually been written or adapted for children, but so may music or verse or novels or history or scientific manuals. It is a dangerous process even when it is necessary. So would a beautiful table, a good picture, or a useful machine such as a microscope be defaced or broken if it were left long unregarded in a schoolroom. Fairy stories banished in this way, cut off from a full adult art, would in the end be ruined. Indeed, insofar as they have been so banished, they have been ruined. The value of fairy stories is thus not, in my opinion, to be found by considering children in particular. Collections of fairy stories are, in fact, by nature attics and lumber rooms, only by temporary and local custom playrooms. Their contents are disordered and often battered, a jumble of different dates, purposes, and tastes, but among them may occasionally be found a thing of permanent virtue, an old work of art, not too much damaged, that only stupidity would ever have stuffed away.
Very Tolkien quote, put beautifully, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's definitely speaking to, a point that kind of gets lost, but is kind of a reawakening in people that, a lot of those old like fairy tales were actually very like gruesome and
Yeah, what's it? The Grimm brothers or the Brothers Grimm, they used to write pretty horrific stories where children. This is like back to the Don Bluth thing that like a kid can handle anything as long as they're a happy ending. I don't think most like old European fairy tales had happy endings either.
Wasn't a very happy life.
No, it wasn't. You're right. It does draw back memories of like I think one of Tolkien's most famous quotes, that evil cannot create, it can only corrupt or destroy what has already been created.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It can't. It's not novel.
It takes stuff that's already been made and just destroys it or corrupts it into something bastardized of what it originally was purposed for. So that's his view of evil. No new, nothing new, nothing creative. Just corrupting of what. That's Star Wars. It's evil. That is the definition of evil, basically. That Disney got its hands
something so great.
Yes, Disney got their hands on Star Wars, and rather than creating stuff new, they just corrupted what was old and destroyed it.
They oversimplified it and just spat it out, and
it's far worse than that too. They spat on everything it stood for. Like Luke Skywalker is a disgrace in the new movies. And granted, I've never seen Rise of Skywalker, nor will I ever. But I mean, just watching Last Jedi is a disgrace to Luke Skywalker.
Okay. Well, I wonder what Mark Hamill thinks of it. Like,
he hates it.
Does he?
Oh yeah, I've seen tons of interviews with him. Like, he is not a fan of Last Jedi, not a fan of Rian Johnson, the guy who made Last Jedi. He basically says, I do not agree with any of the interpretation of Luke Skywalker in these new movies.
Interesting.
I mean, there's one like video where he's like, his eyes, he looks horrified for what he had seen. I'm serious. I feel bad for Mark Hamill. You dedicate your life to one character, and then you feel like the character's been destroyed before your eyes. That's terrible.
But he has to watch it as it goes on because he's that character.
The video I'm thinking in particular is like, it's like right after he came out of the movie theaters, and like he has this like face like.
That was what they put in.
Yeah, I think it's almost as if like he didn't know that they had killed off Luke at the very end. Like it was they just like kept that information from him, and he came out shocked. I don't know if that's not
was it CGI.
Well, yeah, they didn't like. He fades away. If I remember, he fades like Obi-Wan does.
Yeah.
Oh man, I could go on and on about how Disney bastardized Star Wars. I don't care so much about the MCU, but for anyone who is a big Marvel fan, I feel you. I feel it.
Yeah. I mean, so he must Tolkien realized that his writing was more it was more three-dimensional than what what Disney would have done with it.
Do you think Disney has fleshed out any story for the benefit of it? Like, can you think of anything that stands out in your
made
mind?
Something better
Than maybe the original fiction had given you.
Has Disney? Disney has adapted some novels.
They've adapted a lot. Mostly that's what they do. They adapt old fairy tales or novels or other IPs.
Mm-hmm.
Have they ever?
Yeah, they're not known for. Well, no, they are known.
But have they ever improved anything? Is what I'm asking. You think? Did they take any property and make it better?
No, it's kind of like they kind of slap the family-friendly Disney thing on it, and it feels safe.
Sterilized.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
It's not that I hate, what they do or their movies. It's just
it can be good for kids, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It's and certainly nothing they've produced in the last 10 years stands out. What's the last Disney movie that you can remember you liked?
Oh God. I mean, I don't pick Disney owns Pixar, right?
Yeah. Okay, true. But even then, what's Pixar done in the last 10 years that you liked?
I just haven't watched any of the movies. I've heard good things.
Really?
I just haven't watched them. I probably should just to get an idea, but it feels like the same story being told over and over again, and maybe to just a younger audience with slight twists.
You mean is this an updated Cars?
I've never watched Cars.
What the fuck? Granted, I think Cars is one of their worst movies, but you've never even seen Cars.
I may have seen Cars. I can't recall.
It's not one you rewatch. I'll say that.
No.
But yeah. I think the last Disney movie that stands out in my mind is Wreck-It Ralph. That's a genuinely I like that movie.
I haven't seen that one either.
What? You haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Really just stayed away from Disney.
Oh, okay, maybe. What's the last Disney movie you've seen? No.
God.
Is it Last Jedi with me?
Yeah, that would probably any Marvel or Star Wars thing.
Anything? Okay, let's discount Marvel and Star Wars because all of it's crap anyways nowadays.
I did watch the live action remake of Aladdin.
Ooh, that was bad.
Yeah, and the only reason I watched it was because I was watching a YMH special where they show really, really gross clips.
Oh my God.
And I was high, and I had to turn it off because it was so gross.
Tina, no!
And I just needed something to cleanse myself, and Disney.
This is after
live action Aladdin.
Oh my God, you couldn't have chosen a worse thing. Then you had to watch a gruesome horror movie just to cleanse yourself of the Aladdin.
Yeah, I'm with Aladdin, live action Aladdin, nonetheless.
You know, one of the few horror movies I've seen in my life that I didn't want to go to bed after watching. I wanted to watch something after, kind of something comedy and nice. I think it was Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
That was a genuinely scary movie, I must say, and I give it credit. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go to bed right after watching that. I gotta watch something fun after watching that because I don't want to go to bed on this. I'm gonna have nightmares. I legitimately saw I was 19 years old or when that movie came out, 18, and that's
I think you were at my house when you watched it, right?
Yeah, you hated me because I was commenting too much through the movie.
Did I?
Yeah, I remember that vividly.
I showed that movie to everyone because it did legitimately scare me.
Yeah, I remember you.
I feel silly for being scared of it now.
Maybe, yeah.
But at the time.
At the time, it was scary. I remember. I think you told me that I don't think you said these words, but it was all about the fact that I removed all the tension from the night scenes because I would talk too much through them. And you watched it in the theaters where you had to be quiet.
Yeah, that's true.
Granted,
But now that I'm hearing that you were legitimately scared and needed to watch something else, yeah.
oh yeah, I'm not gonna try to pretend to be brave. I mean, Paranormal Activity was a scary movie. I
So
mean,
they
I don't
came
know.
out with the
In hindsight,
sixth,
it can be
fifth one.
silly, I guess, but like at the same time, like at the time, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty good.
I mean, it came out, I think, at just the right time. It
Right.
was done just the right way.
Right.
It wasn't as like ridiculous as like because it's like a Blair Witch Project sort of movie, right?
Exactly. The whole real cam footage genre, that was like the one that kicked it off. I know Blair Witch Project existed before, but that was
Yeah.
like a one-hit wonder sort of thing. It was Paranormal Activity that sort of started the genre.
I think it's a lot harder even back then to like convince people that witches are real. Some people do believe in ghosts and stuff like that.
Witches
so.
are real. What are you talking about? Well, they're real.
Maybe
Ghosts
not
are real
the
too.
same way in the
No,
Blair Witch.
in the same way Blair Witch, time traveling witches, real. Okay, you know what? I believe in time traveling witches. Changed my mind. Prove me wrong, Tina.
I might agree with you if I was on acid.
Great answer. I'll take
That's
that.
it, but that's the only time I can.
Okay. No one was wrongfully killed at Salem. They're fucking witches.
Yeah.
I strongly feel that if you have read The Hobbit itself, everything I just read makes perfect sense. Of course it had children in mind, of course its tone is light and it is filled with jokes and a good time, especially in comparison to The Lord of the Rings, but it never doubts your intelligence. It is not enjoyable just for children. It retains a timeless maturity for all. Though a child may only truly understand some parts of the book, it will enjoy the entirety of it, and gradually with maturity, come to understand the rest. Would works such as The Hobbit be the timeless classics that they are if they were written for the intelligence of a child? That is the question that it ultimately comes down to, and that is a major reason why Tolkien disliked Disney's movies.
I think I say this like when we talk about like Star Wars holding up, Star Wars is a kids movie, but there's themes in there that can relate to anyone at any point in your life, so that's why it holds true to most people. And I think that's why Lord of the Rings holds up, because it's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale. But
it's got some timeless truths.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it rings true for people. I don't think most Disney movies ring true. They seem like fairy tales. So in the same way Lord of the Rings is all fantasy, there's elves and there's magic, and then there's it's not even just that it's more mature content in the sense that like adults are the ones in it. But the messages about good and evil, and like one of the lines from Gandalf I like when he says to Frodo something along the lines of is like shoot. Oh, so like Frodo is complaining that the ring came. I wish the ring never came to me, and Gandalf. So do all men when bad times come to them, but it's how you react or respond to it or something that makes the difference. I wish I had the actual quote. Yeah. Basically, no one wishes for hard times to come upon them, but like it's how you react to them that matters.
Yeah, and very true. And I just don't think that would be something Disney would necessarily put out, or if they did, it'd be like throughout an entire movie. Again, that's just like a small part of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, for sure.
Disney, it just feels watered down.
It does. I think because they're trying to appeal to a mass audience, and they feel like you can't do anything. You can't do anything that'll appeal to a mass audience. It's got to be the most generic.
Being like very. I don't know how to.
You got to find the lowest common denominator and then just sell that. That's the problem with Disney. It feels too formulaic. It feels like a manufactured movie rather than a artistically created movie.
Yeah, it definitely it doesn't seem like it's like an inspired movie. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like paint by numbers.
Paint by numbers.
You know what paint by numbers is? It's what they give like artistically challenged people to make them feel better, I guess. Basically, yeah, you just basically give them a picture, and then there's numbers, and the numbers correspond with colors, and then you fill in the color to the thing.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the paint by numbers thing, it just feels like we came up with a formula about how to make a movie, and we're gonna stick to that formula. And
Until you stop buying our stuff.
I think that's happening though. I think Disney's lost a lot of money in the last year or two. Like I think last year the only movie they made that made any profit at all was Guardian of the Galaxy 3. Everything else was a massive flop.
I just heard that they're supposed to be profitable, like Disney's stock, because I know I have Disney stock. I think they jumped because their streaming platform is supposed to be profitable by the end of this year. That was a big thing.
Well,
And
no, but
a lot
I'm just strictly talking about their movies. Last
Oh,
year
gotcha, gotcha, yeah.
last year they produced 12 I think movies or something. Only one of them made a return on the cost. Everything else lost money.
Yeah, well, I think they bet really big on Marvel, and they've finally seen that. Well, I don't know if they finally, but
Well, the Marvels was a huge flop.
yeah,
I don't know how much that one cost, but it lost a lot of money.
yeah, it's just they just thought that formula would just keep working.
Well, they are also banking on unlikable characters. Like no one really liked Captain Marvel whatsoever. No one. I don't think anyone likes Captain Marvel. My wife despises Captain Marvel.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Like of all the Marvel characters, that she's the one person. Like she will actually.
Oh, Captain. I was
Captain. Well,
thinking. What's the other one I was thinking of? The Captain.
Captain America. No, she likes Captain
Captain
America. Yeah, she likes Captain America because he's hot. Also, because he's like virtuous and he loves the one. He only loves one woman, kind of thing. But,
That's true. Yeah.
but he's hot.
But it's hot. No, yeah, I even think her own co-stars don't even like her, from what I'm hearing.
Her own co-stars? Really?
Oh, I've heard some rumblings about Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
What is she? She a bitch or something?
I think she's a great actress. I just apparently there's some people that just don't like her.
Yeah.
Naturally, Tolkien was a man of a different age, and of a different background, and of heavily traditionalist inclinations. He was also deeply versed in myths and fairy tales on an academic level, and he loved them deeply, and so his views were definitely influenced by that. These things we're talking about here weren't just stories, they were things precious to him. They were a part of his life, as well as the very cultures and peoples and languages he adored most. And these new adaptations of these stories were things never seen before, and this certainly plays a vital role for his dislike of them. With that said, let us finally talk of Snow White. Tolkien watched the film in 1938 alongside his friend C.S. Lewis, and they both disliked it. Lewis, while genuinely enjoying the art style and animation of the film, did not at all enjoy Disney's depiction of the dwarfs.
Damn.
Too racist?
Are the dwarves racist?
I thought they were supposed to be.
What?
There's some theory that there is.
Oh, there's some fucking new age feminist theory that they're racist.
I can't remember why.
I don't know. I don't think that they were intended to be racist.
No,
But so I guess C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien did like the art style, which is the only thing I was complimenting on.
Yeah.
I don't think that the story itself is that fantastic or the depiction. I don't know the original fairy tale though.
I actually don't know the original well at all.
No, me neither.
But the fact that they both disliked it kind of speaks that they must have cut corners in some ways in order to make it more appealing.
If J.R.R. Tolkien is someone who's dedicated his life to studying old fairy tales, I think that he probably would hate Disney. For sure.
Yeah.
Because I think we've talked about this plenty, but they do whitewash and sterilize it to basically be mass appeal to a bunch of like kids and dumb it down.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, most like fairy tales are darker and meaner than like Disney would ever want them to be.
Yeah. It's I don't know if it just gets lost in time.
I'm curious though, like, what's the can you remember the argument that the dwarves are meant to be racist or what? I'm just curious.
I just remember seeing something, and I don't know. I think it was like a Jewish thing.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Huh. I thought
maybe I'm confusing like the people and J.K. Rowling's books.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
The goblins are meant to be
goblins.
yeah, I've heard that one. Is that the
Okay.
goblins are a caricature of Jewish bankers in medieval times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's...
that makes sense. I believe that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the dwarves from yeah, I think you might have mixed those two up.
Okay.
Personally, because yeah, you know why that was? Why like Jewish people got the reputation of finance and banking?
Oh, it's because as a Christian religion, right? You couldn't like be involved with money in some capacity.
Yeah, usury is a sin in
Oh, like
Christianity.
lend or
Interest.
making money on loaning, yeah.
Exactly. So the only people in Europe at the time who were actually involved in much loans and banking were Jews, because it wasn't against their religion to do so. So that's how we got the sort of Jews or money hoarders stereotype thing.
Yeah.
The point on which Tolkien agreed.
It's also a theory as to why Jews are more on average intelligent, because like banking and finance is a higher field than blacksmithing or other kind of peasant farming. So
yeah.
So if you're basically your whole culture's industry is all about finance, that means that you're going to have a culture that incentivizes intelligence when it comes to numbers and making decisions on lending and such.
Americans.
What the hell?
No, I guess we're as a culture we're much broader than that.
Oh no, I was talking about like why Jews on average tend to be more intelligent.
Oh,
is because they were working in field. That's a theory. Is that they were confined to industries that were at the time seen as sinful, but also when you think about it, were probably much more intellectual than a farmer.
Yeah, I mean, without banks and lending, like you don't have modern capitalism, I guess.
No, yeah. But you don't have anything weird, without lending.
Well, yeah, I mean, they say debt came before money, actually. In a weird way, because you owed someone, so you had to pay them back in some capacity. So debt's been around a lot longer than physical money.
I subscribe to the modern monetary theory of like where money originates. It originates with the state. Like there's the more Austrian school that basically believes that money originated because we needed some sort of medium for exchange that was universal.
It just made it faster, yeah.
Yeah, that's the traditional view of where money comes from. But the modern monetary theory is like, no, that's not what happened, because like what happens is basically without the existence of a state, there is no exchange. So the money originates from the state.
A little more authoritarian.
It is, but it also means that like fiat currency isn't an evil.
Oh. The money was always there, it just got corrupted.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that.
Agreed. In the movie, the dwarves are depicted as simple drunken fools that only serve as comedic relief and
racist.
And are completely different to the dwarves of Tolkien, this ancient and mythical people lost to time. In his mind, Disney had taken a concept that was very dear to Tolkien's heart and deeply rooted in tradition, and he turned them into goofballs whose entire purpose of existence was being a joke. To Tolkien, what Disney was doing was commercializing something important to him into comedy, while also potentially hurting traditional fairy tales and even children's intellectual development alongside it. To us, of course, in the 21st century and the entertainment media that has been produced since, this may seem insane or an exaggeration. But you must remember that this is a man born in the 19th century who dedicated his entire life to these myths. In fact, as covered in a previous video, one of the major reasons for why he spells the word dwarves as shown on screen is in order to differentiate them from the increasingly popular dwarfs that Disney in part introduced to popular culture. In the
V is a much more masculine letter than an F. That's just a joke. Like, if the spelling is a way to differentiate yourself from the more popular Disney version of dwarfs,
it's more like triangular.
Yeah, pointy.
It's a power, yeah.
Pointy. It comes to yes, pointy is masculine, curves are woman.
There you go.
That's obvious. Everyone knows this. Jeez, Tina. Get with the times.
Ah,
If you want to make your son like a future like warrior, you name him Victor. Or no, wait, the fucking C is a curvy letter. Make it Victor with a K.
ooh, the Russian way.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, there you go.
The years that followed the release of Snow White and up until the end of his life, Tolkien's opinion of Disney's works did not improve. And with every film that succeeded it, the phenomenon Tolkien first described in his essay became all the more apparent. A contributing factor may also be the widespread popularity of these films throughout the globe, and how this popularity may corrupt the creatures featured within, such as the dwarves, but also these folk stories in general in the popular imagination. This misrepresentation of the stories he loved so deeply becoming so widespread, in my belief, must have influenced Tolkien's opinions on Disney. In a 1960
It's sort of interesting to me that we've had a long conversation now about how Disney corrupted MCU and Star Wars, but literally feel like this is what's happening with Tolkien when he was watching Disney make all the fairy tales into movies. Is they're corrupting the fairy tales.
They never changed since the beginning.
Yeah. Evil cannot create, it can only corrupt or destroy what has already been created.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they did give us nice theme parks, though.
I've never been to Disney World. Have you been to Disney World, Disneyland, or any one of those?
Disneyland, yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't been to
Yeah.
either. My sister has been to both Disneyland, Disney World.
Yeah.
I don't know of her opinion of which is better, but the common answer is Disney World is like 10 Disneylands.
It is bigger, yeah.
Right. But
I feel like Disney World's better for adults, from what I hear. There's
You
just
think
more
so?
options.
I don't know. Yeah, I've never been.
Disneyland's good for like a day or two.
Okay. I've never been to either. When did you go to Disneyland?
It was like 9. It was like my first big road trip. We drove down there and then drove back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I remember 2 big road trips when I was a kid. My dad took us to the Redwoods one year, and he took us to Yellowstone another year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it was the road. Our car broke down.
It's a
we had to
long
stay
trip.
in Shasta for a while.
Where is Disneyland? Is Disneyland near Los Angeles?
Anaheim. So
Anaheim,
I think
okay.
just north or south.
Okay, but
I don't know the LA suburbs.
SoCal,
SoCal, yes.
as the locals call it. All right.
But yeah, it just it's crazy how this guy, I was already seeing it in the beginning, like, oh, this just doesn't seem right, and I had to write an essay on it, that
Well, it's
Kind
the
of
thing he's
wrong.
noticing is the same thing that we notice, is that when you try to commercialize something, you have to reduce it to its lowest common denominator because you need to
Mhm.
appeal to as many people as possible. And
Yeah.
there's in one view of that, there's nothing truly wrong or immoral about it, because if you're trying to please the most amount of people, that's not inherently wrong. But
No.
when you take source material that people love and they cherish, they hold sacred to them, it can be very bad to those people. And that's how I think it's like Dragon Ball Evolution.
There you go.
Another thing that I will
Never forgive. Watch.
I've never seen it. But
Oh,
like
you go.
Last Jedi is the worst movie I've ever seen. Dragon Ball Evolution is the worst movie I've never seen.
It's the worst movie I've never seen.
Yeah. Because I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball, and I feel like that is the most corrupted version of Dragon Ball there ever could be. I would watch it as part of like a drinking challenge or some sort of like meme or some sort of
Okay.
podcast. Would be fun if we did it together. I would do it for that reason and that reason only, but I'm never just gonna watch it out of curiosity.
Okay. Never, because you're on a plane and have nothing else to watch.
Yeah, I would rather stare at the front of the stare at the wall for 5 hours than have to watch that movie. The only exception I'll make is that, like, if you and I watched it and reacted to it, and I got to drink in the same way we're gonna watch Kung Fury, we didn't do that.
You
unfortunately.
needed something to add to it.
Yes, it would just be it'd be mostly for our commentary.
Okay.
I'd be willing to do that too.
Yeah, do like a reaction video on a movie or something.
We were also supposed to watch Kung Fury, but that never happened.
It could still happen.
Are you free Saturday?
Not this Saturday.
Oh, too bad. I don't
Yeah,
think I am
but
either.
it will happen.
Yeah. Okay. It's getting a little late. Let's see if we can go another. Actually, we don't have
Finish
much
it off.
more. Yeah, let's just finish.
64 letter written to a Miss Jane Curry, Tolkien states that I recognize his talent, but it has always seemed to me hopelessly corrupted. Though in most of the pictures proceeding from his studios there are admirable or charming passages, the effect of all of them to me is disgusting. Some have given me
Wow.
nausea. In a 1965 letter, he expands by definitively stating that neither he nor his publishers have any intentions at all of permitting Disney Studios to adapt any of Tolkien's writings. It should be mentioned, however, that talks were apparently held with Disney at some point, in which a representative of Allen and Unwin, Tolkien's publishers, approached Disney about turning The Lord of the Rings into an animated film,
Wow.
though Disney declined due to the high costs they predicted for the production. These talks, it is assumed, were held without the permission of Tolkien himself. Ultimately, my
course.
personal understanding of Tolkien, despite what he may have written, is that he was not a hater of individual. What he was a hater of certain things that certain individuals did that went against what Tolkien considered to be the ideal on a societal level, or simply artistically. It has been said by those who knew him personally, such as his son Christopher or close friend C.S. Lewis, that J.R.R. Tolkien did on occasion use exaggerated language to make a point, such as using loathing or disgusting, but it was often never as deep as that. Nonetheless, his dislike of Disney's works on an intellectual level cannot be denied, nor his absolute refusal to work with him. And so I hope now you have a better understanding of Tolkien's beliefs on fairy tales, their adaptations, and Disney itself.
Yes, we do. Thank you. This
Yeah.
guy.
It totally makes sense now that like the video explained it to
Yeah.
us, like why you would hate it. And, it kind of seems like it stands against everything like he's for as far as like storytelling.
Have you ever been into creative writing?
Not really, no.
You never even when you were really young, made up stories.
I mean, they had to like make up stories, yeah, but nothing like a creative writing class.
No, okay.
Yeah.
But out of curiosity, what were these creative stories that you had as a kid? The imagination, were they like spawned off of anything?
I don't know. I was like usually reading like books about like other animals in the world. I have like
Animals?
some like book somewhere in my stuff that I'm looking at right now on my shelf where it's like about a giant Amazon otter born from an egg and helped save someone. Have
you always been into animals?
when I wrote that?
Have you always been into animals? Is that the thing?
I like animals.
Have you ever thought about being a veterinarian?
Oh no, it's too sad.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
most of what you do is just put down animals.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got a runny nose. Can't solve this.
It's like the exact opposite of what people like are really into animals.
Fine. Good point. That's a great point. A lot of people, I think, go into veterinarian because they want to help animals, and what they realize what they mostly do is put them down. Sad.
Yeah, it's sad, but and a lot of it, really it's the fault of the owners for like not
Yeah.
taking better care of their animals and stuff like that.
You don't have any pets, do you?
No.
No.
I wouldn't. The way I live, I wouldn't own a pet right now.
Too busy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't own a pet for the longest time just because I think I'm mostly just selfish. I never wanted to have to take care of another thing because I like the idea that like I could at any point I could just pick up and go and leave for days. Never really did, but I like the idea that I could just do that.
Yeah. Like with an animal, like you have to take care of it.
Yeah, you
you
have
know?
to plan ahead whenever you want to take a trip or do anything.
Mm-hmm. I'm even hesitant about a plant.
A plant? Oh, jeez.
And I've successfully grown stuff, but
Yeah, I guess. Like, I think that's like the lowest tier of
Lowest
like
bar.
care there is for a thing, and you're worried about I can't do this. This is fucking too much pressure. God, Tina, don't you want kids one day? Like, what the fuck? I can't handle a plant.
maybe eventually. I'll start with plants first.
Yeah, my suggestion is get some more house plants, work your way up, get a pet, and then have kids. Yeah, because like I can take the responsibility of a kid, but a house plant's just fucking too much work.
I feel like that's Gen Z these days.
All right. Any final thoughts?
No, I think the video definitely like summed up, and we summed up it pretty well. It's just, yeah, it's just Disney has been doing what it's always been doing and selling us
Corrupting.
stuff, and
They're
we're
good at that.
enjoying it. Yeah,
They're great at selling.
just acknowledge what you're watching.
Oh, one last thought, one last question before we conclude. Do you think Disney started as a cold commercial minded person, or did he have like vision and artistic dreams just like Tolkien would have?
I think he was more, I don't know, but I think he was more like a basic animator that had like a decent idea that appealed to people, and he was probably a much better businessman.
Okay, so he was the venture capitalist type. He didn't really think
He
of it
was
as
an
art.
idealist,
Okay.
from what I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm sure he had his. I'm just curious, like, if did he see his animation as art? Like,
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And like you said, we can appreciate Snow White for its art, especially
Yeah.
for its time.
oh, definitely. I think Snow White is some beautiful animation, and I think that apparently even J.R.R. Tolkien, for all of his hatred of Disney, even acknowledged that the film is really well drawn.
Yeah, it's like the
and
one thing
crafted.
they would acknowledge.
Yes, is that it on an animation level, on an artistic level, they do a great job.
Mm,
All right. So yeah, that's my final thought.
yeah.
Okay. So for
That
Tina and
seems
Karen
like
do the tube, I am Karen.
Tina.
All right. Bowing to people. No. Stay safe, everyone, and stay hydrated. We love you.
Only to our subscribers.
I love everyone.